Every story begins with a moment you didn't expect. A quiet feeling that something inside you is no longer the same. It doesn't arrive loudly or with clear instructions. It just lingers like a question you can't quite ignore. Many people notice it in the middle of ordinary days. A sense that the life they're living isn't the whole story. And somewhere beneath the surface, something is waiting. Not to be fixed, but to be seen. This is where the journey begins. Not out there, but inward. People sometimes call this pattern the hero's journey. A path often spoken about in stories and sometimes linked to Joseph Campbell. A hero leaves what is known and steps into uncertainty. But the journey isn't always about dragons or distant lands. Sometimes it feels more like meeting parts of yourself you've kept hidden. Parts that don't quite fit the version of you you've learned to show. And this is where the journey changes. Because the real unknown isn't the world outside. It's the world within. Many people describe a kind of inner tension at this point. A pull between who they are and who they believe they should be. It can feel confusing, even unsettling. As if something inside is asking to be acknowledged. But not everything within us feels easy to face. Some parts feel unfamiliar or even uncomfortable. This is often what people refer to as the shadow, a term sometimes associated with Carl Jung. Not as something dark or dangerous, but as something unseen. The parts of ourselves that didn't quite fit or weren't welcomed. Traits we learned to hide or quietly push aside. Not because they were wrong, but because they didn't belong. And this is what most people miss. The shadow isn't separate from you. It's part of the same story. The same life, just told from a different angle. Many people spend years trying not to look at it, avoiding certain thoughts, reactions, or feelings. But the more it's ignored, the more it seems to follow. Not loudly, but persistently, like something waiting to be noticed. And this is where the journey deepens. Because turning toward it can feel unfamiliar, even a little uncomfortable at first. It's not about confronting or overcoming. It's more like listening, gently without judgment. Some people begin to notice patterns they hadn't seen before. Reactions that feel stronger than expected. Emotions that don't seem to match the moment. And slowly, a quiet curiosity begins to form. Not what's wrong with me, but what is this trying to show me? But something deeper is happening. Because the shadow often carries what was once pushed away. Not just pain, but potential. Not just fear, but energy. Not just what was rejected, but what was never fully explored. And when it's seen, even briefly, something shifts. Not dramatically, but subtly. Like a piece of a puzzle finding its place. The hero's journey in this sense isn't about becoming someone new. It's about recognizing what has always been there. And allowing it to exist without needing to change it immediately. Some people find this brings a sense of quiet relief. Others notice a deeper sense of honesty. Not perfection, but wholeness. And this is where the journey changes again. Because integration isn't a single moment. It's something that unfolds over time. In small recognitions, in everyday moments. In how you respond rather than react. In how you see yourself with a little more clarity. A little more kindness. Not force, just present. Many people notice that the parts they once resisted begin to feel less like enemies. And more like voices that were never heard. Voices that carry something worth understanding. And this is what most people miss. Integration doesn't mean everything becomes easy. It means everything becomes visible. Not perfectly, not all at once. But enough to begin a different kind of relationship with yourself. One that isn't based on hiding, or pretending, or dividing yourself into acceptable and unacceptable. But something more whole, more real, more human. And slowly, the journey begins to feel less like a struggle, and more like a conversation, an ongoing unfolding, where every part of you has a place, even the parts you once tried to leave behind, because they were never separate from you to begin with. They were just waiting to be included in the story. And maybe that's what the hero's journey has always been about. Not conquering something outside yourself, but returning to something within. something that was never truly lost, only hidden, only quiet, and now slowly becoming known. The journey doesn't end when you begin to understand yourself. In many ways, that's where it truly begins. And it continues gently, one moment at a time. If this resonated with you, you might notice how these ideas show up in your own story. Not as answers, but as questions worth sitting with.